Hi, this is Vlog Entry 187, and it's about noon. Been doing quite a bit as usual. I always keep myself busy, especially now since I've lost 40 hours per week. I try to fill up my 40 hours per week with a course that I'm taking on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And I also have a lot of reading. I've been going to the library for almost like three to 4 hours a day, just looking for books and self help psychology. Um, not really much religion, although I have been reading the Bible. Well, sort of. I only read it during the course that I'm taking, but I should probably start doing some studying outside of that because although I may not take it completely seriously, I believe analyzing literature and the Bible to some extent is a form of building a decent moral foundation that I may not be able to build by myself. It's a good structure to use to start off with at the very least. So I am I am reading, trying to read the Bible more often. Although I'm not good at rote memorization for the most part, so I'm not good at that kind of stuff. But maybe I am. I guess it takes a little bit of repetition to fully embed a particular piece of information precisely. So I don't think it would be that bad for me if I decided to do that. But yeah, from I guess what I did yesterday is at least for the course, we were going over the parables, and he was going through a lot yesterday. Actually, he went through like the different, like it's very, I think he's doing like the easy ones. Like the parables are considered to be mainly figurative, right? Like if from what I saw, that the seed and like the tree in the field, and the bird is the spirit, and the tree is supposed to be the the well, I mean, there are multiple definitions of it from an individualistic perspective. I think the tree is considered to be I guess I would consider it to be the moral foundation that is built off of the word that they call it. By reading the Bible, it's a good way of doing that, especially rigorously to some extent. I don't know how rigorous I'm going to be to the point in which I would be accepting every bit of information or bit of moral every moral constituent that I would like to have in my life and whatnot. But the tree is considered to be the being that is that grows from that particular seed, which is considered to be the word, and the field itself is considered to be the heart. Like it has to be properly soiled and tilled and maintained for the quote unquote heart to be soft enough to accept the word, for that particular being to uh, express itself through it, which is the tree. And then, like, I guess and yeah, there were a lot of different verses that we went through. I'm not going to memorize all of them because I think I may look at a few of them and go back to some. We we did so many. I don't think I'd be able to go over half of them. Um, but it's interesting. It's interesting, I guess. I mean, like my key takeaway from it is, I don't know. It seems, I wouldn't say trivial to any extent. I don't like using that word trivial, or like, I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily invested in it, but I'm still taking the course because I'm kind of bored. Um, but yeah, um, I don't know. Let me see what verses. I don't know if there were any interesting verses that I'd have to go back to that really stood out for me, at least. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like they also went into like the universal meaning of the tree and the field, right? Like Jesus's field, and like how they are planning on, like, like he has his own farm and everything, right? And his own barn. And I guess in the Revelations they talk about the rapture. So to some degree, they, in one of these verses, the harvesting will occur during the rapture, right? And it doesn't matter whether there are evil or corrupted plants within the field. Quote unquote, Jesus during his second coming will come and pick the ones that are ripe for the harvest, right? The wheat or whatever, that's what they call it, the wheat versus the weeds. The weeds are obviously the corrupted beings that have been tempted by the word of the devil, of evil. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess to some extent, it's pretty interesting. Also, like again, they constantly, the evangelists that are teaching the course constantly tell us to refer to the Bible, to not be deceived by the devil, and the thoughts that come into your head that may seem righteous or right, but the thing that makes every the thing that deciphers what is right and wrong is God itself, and the only way He can speak. Well, I don't think that the Bible is necessarily the best way to speak to God. I guess if you want to say it is, then I don't think that's the best way. Although, again, like the like like God, there are different kinds of gods, right? If you're a paganist, you don't even have to be necessarily paganist. I'm not a paganist, but I believe that there are entities that are higher than us, obviously. So even then, they can be used as a medium or a resource or a higher channel to reach a certain state of being and whatnot. So but God is considered to be the God, I guess, the most high. I guess people can call it that too. It's considered to be the highest and most omnipotent God that created everything. And I don't believe that the Bible is the most omnipotent one, but I maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, yeah, anyways, like, so what was I saying? I guess, like, reading the Bible is a form of connecting to that particular God. It's considered to be a grimoire to an extent, right? People would consider this to be a grimoire because, actually, I don't know the technical definition of a grimoire, so I wouldn't be able to tell you why, but I think a grimoire is, well, if I had to use my deductive capacity, a grimoire, from my perspective, if they were associating grimoire to the Bible, it's seen as a magical tool to connect to a higher structure for you to be catapulted into. To some degree, I mean, grimoires are magical tools as well, and that's a form of magic, right? You're changing your thoughts and your values and who you are as a person to then become a complement of something that's not quite there yet, right? It takes a while for the complement of who you are to come in. So yeah, that is magic. And then, I mean, if you want to think of it like that, then yeah, it is. The Bible is a magical tool. Um, yeah. So I mean, it's cool. I like it. I like taking courses like this. It's interesting. It opens my mind to different perspectives and how people talk about God, right? It's just a different form of having faith in a higher power. Although I'm not, again, like I can see it from a detached perspective, and still taking the information that they're giving to me without me necessarily fully abiding by the scripture or the word that they speak of. So I mean, like again, like I can't, I don't think I could ever convince myself to be a devout Christian, which is, I think it's kind of uncomfortable because they can tell that I wouldn't say I'm necessarily closed off. Maybe to some degree I am. It's yeah, I guess you could say my heart isn't completely tilled yet. I have a pretty soft heart, but not to the point in which I can fully absorb this scripture without being skeptical about it. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of verses. I'm going to go back and probably review some of the verses that we talked about yesterday, and I've been doing this for like almost 2 weeks at this point, and I haven't devoted any of it to rote memory, because I haven't been reading the scripture outside of the course. I mean, I need to start reading it more. Just, it would be fun anyways. Used as a literary tool. I think it's an interesting literary tool aside from its capability of, like, I guess, keeping it's therapeutic as well. It keeps you positive to a degree, and yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I may be going to the library today, and again, like, since things have slowed down, I have a lot of time on my hands. I submitted a couple of forms and documents to the city for collecting money. Um, it was that was kind of boring, to be honest with you. I couldn't. It was, I don't know. It's been very difficult for me to focus on menial tasks lately, but it was somewhat interesting because I had to count the amount of days by just having my paycheck, which doesn't have that direct information. So I had to count it through the amount of hours I work per week, which is a variation of either 8 or 10 hours, but also you can deduce the amount of 10-hour shifts that you work within a week by looking at the amount of overtime that you have, which is a multiple of 2, because anything above 8 hours is considered to be overtime, and we usually just work 10-hour shifts, and meaning that's a multiple of 2, and you can at least decide how many. You can kind of like reverse engineer it and decide how many 10-hour shifts you work within a bi-weekly period just by doing that, and then by starting off with those, I had a few 13-hour shifts as well, so there were a few wonky paychecks I had to look at. I was wondering, I was like, why is this one odd? And I was like, oh yeah, it's odd because I had a 13-hour shift and I was working 5 hours overtime for those 13-hour shifts, so that made it odd. Again, that was easy to like reverse engineer, and then once you reverse engineer the 10 and 13-hour shifts, you can get them into multiples of 8s, and then you can just reverse engineer the checks and then add them up again, which I was surprised. I was like, I didn't think I was going to think about that at that given time, and it just popped up. Say, oh yeah, that makes it easier instead of having to consult with my my old manager. So I mean, that would have taken a second, and they probably have all the information in the city already. So yeah, so that was fun. I guess that was kind of an interesting puzzle. I don't see puzzles like that. I mean, like that was still kind of an easy puzzle. I like bigger puzzles, but it was fun. Yeah, so there's that, and also I just have a lot of like random tasks I need to do. I have to get. I had to read, well, a lot of stuff. I don't feel like having to be specific about everything because, again, I don't necessarily trust everybody that watches these videos. I actually don't know who watches these videos half the time anyways, so I prefer to keep it to myself for the most part. Although, like, that's like a very, I would say that bit of information is not something that anybody can, like, run away with, and, I would say it's a harmful piece of information, but I just had to share it. Yeah, so a couple of other things I need to do, and yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of things, but I think this time period of, especially this week, I think I'm gonna like kind of mix it with me being busy and relaxing and trying to slow down a little bit and enjoy this time that I have for myself. Right? I think I'm gonna do that, and I guess for me, I don't know, now I just feel like going to the library and like reading a bunch of things. I actually did go, again, like I mentioned, I went to the library yesterday. I was just kind of like picking through the philosophy and history and self-help section because I would like to expand my understanding of history a little bit more. And actually I found a few Augustus and Julius Caesar books that seemed interesting, but at the same time it didn't really captivate me much. It was just history about a person. I don't know. History's cool, but at the same time, I don't know how people can read through history books. Like, I don't know, just like having to remember all of that. It's like, it just seems so laborious to me, at least. Again, I think it's laborious because, again, I don't have like an amazing crystallized memory. I guess you would call it that. My working memory is a lot more efficient, which is why I tend to lean on my analytical and my mathematical side more as opposed to like looking at history, right? Because I think I actually have a pretty good crystallized memory. It's just that it's hard to devote something in memory you're not necessarily interested in. The only reason I would be interested in Augustus and Julius Caesar is because I think they were rulers in Rome, right? Julius Caesar was before Augustus, and Augustus came into a time period of Rome in which it was going through some trials, and trials I think is a light way of saying it, but they were at a low point in their empire, and Augustus, I don't know how he brought it back, but I think a good combination of it from what I've seen is due to his, I think he was I don't know, I don't know actually, I guess he was a pretty good tactician as well, and he at least internally reconstructed Rome through his understanding of policy and social dynamics, and being able to find harmony within an empire through being more compromising as opposed to Julius Caesar, but I could be wrong. So I don't know. I just think those are interesting because, again, I think it's good to understand. Like, well, not I like picking apart the characteristics of tacticians and emperors and being a leader to some extent because I personally would like my reach to be a little bit more all encompassing. So yeah, of course, I would want to learn from those kinds of people, but I would rather have a more direct breakdown of what qualities they contained, aside from just reading the full history of them, which could be considered to be disrespectful to a degree. Maybe it is, but yeah, I mean, like I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It seems interesting though, but I may start reading more stuff on history and different emperors and rulers that were back in the period of Rome, because Rome was considered to be the largest empire at that time. So um, then for probably a good chunk of time until, I don't know, like the United, again, like my knowledge of history isn't amazing, so I wouldn't say like until like the big superpowers came in like during the Industrial Revolution. But again, I don't know. I could be wrong. I think that's when Rome was considered to not be the biggest power in history, at least. So yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised that I'm actually somewhat interested in history, but the only reason I'm interested in history now is because of its utility for where I'm at right now. And I can only go so far with my current understanding, right? And I guess as people say, I think, what did they say? It was like the best lessons are learned through history or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't know what people. I have a general idea of what was insinuated, but I don't have like the direct quote from it. Yeah. What was that? I don't even remember. That's interesting. But yeah, so there's that, and I also I got another general philosophy book. I like the one from Russell, uh, Bertrand Russell. Sorry, that one is decent. This other one is, I think, both Western and Eastern philosophy. It's a combination. Bertrand Russell's was just Western philosophy, which is cool. I'd like to have a mixture of the two. So I found it's called the philosophy book. So I may read through that some. Um, yeah, I have a lot of reading I want to do aside from just the Bible. Yeah, so there's that, and holy shit, there's so much that's just going on right now that I'm surprised by not being overwhelmed because last year when I was in a period like this, I was kind of having trouble juggling everything, wondering what I should do with my time. But I think it's good that I'm going through these periods of freedom because it gives me space to discover myself even more, right? I don't think anybody should adhere or, use all their time to being a wage cook, right? They should have freedom to understand who they are more as opposed to being a capitalist robot, right? And that's my way of discovering myself is through reading books, supposedly. Because again, I think a huge part of my identity is in my mind. So reading books is a way of absorbing information and to see how I perceive that information from myself, obviously. So it's a good way of understanding who I am and like um, what my opinions are. Although I don't really have strong opinions, I tend to be more detached from any kind of opinion. I like seeing perspectives and all that. So that's why I guess I was considered a mediator in most cases because I was never passionate about one particular opinion. Because an opinion, again, I guess I don't mean if anybody, it is subjective and it's good. Subjectivity is good, but at the same time, I before I even make a decision, I want to look at everything, right? I don't want to be like too into like one particular viewpoint, right? So um, it's just how I am. Yeah, so I don't know if I think I had a few. Well, again, like I have a list of books from. I have a lot of reading I want to do, which is a great time. Like the winter time is a great time to do it because I don't have a lot to do when it comes to being responsible for society, at least. So I'm going to use that time to read and just learn new things. There's also I was thinking about going to um, a place that has arenas for board games because I want to get back into board games again. I know of a guy that I work with that's into that kind of stuff, and there's another guy that I worked with that left that was into D&D, and then there's another guy, there are a couple other people that I was considering to link up with so I can do that more often. If I have the time for it, of course. I think I have the time for it. I can find a way to meld a schedule for it. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have a schedule, but a rigorous schedule. So, yeah. I just have a lot to do. Especially for November. I think I'm going to, keep myself busy for November. Yeah. Holy shit. I may apply. Well, again, I'm not going to talk about all my plans. I have a lot of plans that I want to, and I already started planning for next summer. There are a lot of classes I want to take, and just things I want to do and learn, and potentially test out different occupations that I didn't do this summer. So we'll see how that goes too. Low-level occupations potentially, or maybe I'll get a few licenses and certificates if I feel like doing something that's considered to be more professional, which I'll actually use that chunk probably when I'm going to school to absorb more information around getting a certificate. Potentially IT, maybe like a lower. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah. So I think that's really it. Let me see if I have any notes that I wrote down that I may want to share with the interwebs. Yeah, I don't really have a lot. A lot of personal things pertaining to money and like changing my mindset when it comes to my relationship with money. Now, it's ideal to like hold a particular relationship, like a certain perspective of money, like when you're at a particular phase in your life. I'm still in a more, I want to say slave-like, but more linear form of understanding how money like grows in your life. Again, I think I'm going to have more padding in the future to play with different forms of it, like, stocks and bonds and whatnot, but currently I don't have a lot of money to play with, so it's kind of hard to do. Although I feel like I shouldn't be sharing this, but I am anyways. So, I mean, then again, like, yeah, that's going to be probably in like a year or two where I'm actually going to be playing with it in a not less conventional sense, but not in a way of I'm used to thinking about money, I guess. And I think anybody who goes through this phase is like, it would be fun to be a business owner because you basically pay people to make you money essentially. Like like that's a different form of like a different kind of mindset as opposed to being the I mean, like I just like dabbling with different like viewpoints of like how I want to perceive money. Although I still have to perceive it in the sense that I give my time away to get money, unfortunately. Although I would like to break out of that eventually. I think that'll probably be in the next few years or so. I can see that as long as I stay on track and I don't lose sight of the goal at hand. So yeah. So I mean, aside from that, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I don't know. I guess another way of like transitioning from just like the linear. Well, I mean, okay, maybe not. I mean, I can get into like contracting and whatnot, but that's still it's still more free than working under an employer, at least because they have a set amount of guidelines, whereas contractors are more free. Although contractors could be under a business because it's a business, a contracting business, right? So I mean, like obviously that could be different, but of course, I think the more specialized you are, the more free you are. There's a correlation between that. Not necessarily, I guess, specialized and professional. Like I guess specialized would be a good way to say it. Yeah. For the most part. You can still get away with not being completely specialized if you're a business owner, but you would have to be pretty creative and disciplined, and you'd have to have the right people to actually run a business. Like, like I don't know, like I don't think I'd have the patience for that. At least not right now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna cut this off. I've been talking for 25 minutes, and I just that's usually the time in which I stop. So, see ya.